thing to start recording. Yay! Okay, hey everybody. How are you? Welcome to Clam Chatter. I hope everyone's having a good Wednesday night. The bottom line is I am not really having a great Wednesday night. But I think I'm having a decent Wednesday day. It's just tonight's gotten a little bit crazy and out of hand. How is everyone else doing? I'll tell you why it's crazy. Because it's a little disorganized tonight. The internet decided maybe not to work so well until 2 minutes ago. So I'm not sure my guests were able to actually get on here as quickly as I want them to. But thank you for joining me here on Get Vocal, because tonight we are going to learn about college. And for any of you who are joining me tonight, you are probably interested in all of this college stuff. So if my guests are here, they can grab a spot. But if they're not here, I'm just going to tell you about them. So Pearl and Andy Lockwood are college admissions and funding advisors in Long Island, New York. So they're kind of like entrepreneurs, I guess. They think they're geniuses. And they've been helping all of my friends and me with a lot of information about college, how to get more money, how to figure out any of this, like what's going to happen with the coronavirus, what's going to happen with college, what's going to happen. Oh, Strong Island in the house, Summer. So let me just see if they are here. I'm not sure they are yet. Let's see if they're able to get on here. It's 7:01 and I'm waiting, Andy. Andy and Pearl are definitely, oh no, this is crazy. So they are having trouble getting on here tonight. So it's going to be a little bit crazy. Okay, use phone. Let me try to do this. Use that link. Sorry, guys. On your email. Refresh. Okay. I'm gonna try to refresh and try to get them on. But okay, or take it from the Facebook page. Okay, let's see if we can get them on here. Okay, so some of the questions, why don't you guys start writing down some questions that you might have, because it is turning into a little bit of a shit show that I can't get them on. Any of my high school friends want to come on and chat with me while we're waiting for them to get on? Oh my God, what a nightmare. Okay, let's see. All right, you can do this. I sent it, but it's not working. All right, well, if that's not going to be the case, then you guys just have to hold out and start making your dinner, because don't you want to know what's happening for 2021 with your kids? So you guys can be chilling. I'm just I'm not in a panic mode, but I do need to know. Hold on, what's happening? All right, I'm going to try to send them a link again. Thank you. Let's see. Allison's there, PJ. All right, if anyone wants to just give me 2 minutes to try to get them on board here. I don't know what's going on. Let's see. Hi, Heidi. Okay, so take that link, Pearl, and spot like you did yesterday when we talked. Okay, I'm going to send you, if you go to getvocal.com onto my channel and subscribe to my channel, you can just get on there. Just go like you would if you were on my show. Thank you, Zori, for subscribing to my channel. All right, you guys, just everyone drink for a second. All right, try to use Chrome on your computer, Pearl. We got a lot of people here, so let's get started. Okay. Andy, grab a spot. Damn. I think this isn't working. All right. You guys have to give me a minute. I'm going to have to call them on here and see what happens. We're going to FaceTime. Okay. I sent it. You should be able Okay, just go on your computer, grab the link that I sent to the CEO thing. It's just going to get you on here. Okay? College coaching, the link. Okay. Hi, Carrie. I'm just going to keep drinking, you guys. You know, let's talk about something else. Let's talk about the pandemic. How's everyone doing? Who wants to come on here and tell me something freaking great that's going on in their lives? Well, Andy is trying to get on. Hi, Zori.
Hi.
Oh, look, it's Zori and Mimi.
We
Your
have
internet.
a live college student here.
Yeah, you're a college student. So how is it being home for the pandemic?
Honestly, I'm ready to go back soon. I feel like I've been here for like most of the school year now.
And
it's fun.
Because we love each other.
It's not fun. You are not having fun. You guys don't leave me. They have to figure out how to get on here. I've given them this thing.
How do you know like who's watching?
Oh, these people are watching.
All those people.
Ah.
Hold on. Just hold on. Take this.
Hi everyone.
Send that. You guys keep talking amongst yourselves.
Okay, we can have Boomer. Boomer, what do you think?
So this is Boomer.
Okay, that's awesome.
He doesn't like cameras.
Okay.
He gets up from the camera.
All right. Heidi, do you want to come on and make fun of Andy for not being able to get on? It's just strange that they can't get on the show tonight. Okay, I'm going to call them. Summer, you can pop in. Tell a story. Thank you.
I'm a little worried though. If they can't get on this Zoom, I'm concerned.
It's crazy. I don't know what's going on.
Oh, Phoebe left. I want to tell Phoebe how beautiful she is.
Come back on.
She's I can't believe how beautiful. I mean, I can, but like, you look so grown up.
What's happening? Everybody's waiting.
You look like
It worked yesterday. All right, all these people are like waiting for you to go.
Okay, love you guys.
I don't know what to do. Okay.
Zoom on Facebook?
No, we can't do it like that. So you guys have to, all right, Andy, press the link I sent you.
Yeah, I did.
Okay, go to getvocal.com on your computer right now.
So get off that link?
Yeah, get off that link. Go to getvocal.com. Sorry, guys. I know, we're 8 minutes in. Getvocal.com.
All right. So, Andy, if I can do it, you can do it.
Exactly. Go to getvocal.com. Okay. Now, go to Clam Chatter. You should be able to see it. I sent you another thing that's Clam.
Searching.
Yeah.
Searching Clam Chatter.
Grab the spot.
No. He's not. Okay, listen closely for 1 second. I'm so sorry, everybody. Okay, so listen. So the last email I sent to the CEO thing is just search Clam Chatter and click on that.
Right now?
Yeah, join Clam Chatter. Yeah, it said John Amoroso has subscribed. Now click into Clam Chatter, and then go to Heidi, you're sideways.
What?
Yeah, you're sideways.
How come? I wish I could think of something to say to all your people out there.
Example first.
Okay, so now Andy, hurry up because everybody's here. We're losing people.
I have a lot to learn, Andy Lockwood.
Okay, so Andy, you in there? Oh wait, is that you guys?
It's a blank screen.
It can't be a blank screen. Are you on Chrome?
Subscribe.
Subscribe to Clam Chatter.
I just said that. Now I'm back on the dashboard.
Okay, go in. Oh shit, you guys. This is so bad. Everybody's here. All right, hold on. Summer, take over the show. So, Summer, take over the show. Okay, so
So you got to go on to Get Vocal. They got to go on to Get Vocal.
go to getvocal.com.
I think if everybody's watching.
And come grab a spot. Okay, you guys, I'm so sorry we're having this. This is so weird. It should just, are you on Chrome like we did yesterday?
Yeah.
Okay, so you have internet. Go to getvocal.com. Go to, you're in there for subscribing. So, ooh, lovely. Okay, so here we go. What are you clicking on? Show me.
It says, it's just waiting to load. It says clam chatter. /clam chatter.
Hold on. Show me the screen. Show me the screen. I can't see the screen. I can't see the screen. No. This sucks. Everybody's going to fucking leave.
It's gonna be okay because you're keeping your shit together.
I mean, I'm okay, but this is a really great show and it's just fucked
Okay,
up.
so Summer and I will deal with this, and you deal with that.
Okay, talk to everybody. Show
Okay.
me the screen.
Well, I mean, how many people here have actually sent their kids to college? I'm not even sure if I'm going to send my kid to college.
Well, if your kid wants to go to college, you will, right?
Come in and talk to me.
But if they don't care, I don't know if I'm going to spend $50,000 on something they don't care about.
Yeah, they don't
Girl,
care.
show me the screen.
But
I just heard Lara go, I want to go to college. I didn't say a word. You know, we're fine. It's okay. We can go.
Wait, girl, show me the screen.
what are you in Lara's room with those lights?
Lara has moved to Marley's room because the basement's done.
Oh, I want to see it.
Oh, now you're showing me nothing. Can you download the app, please, on your
Summer, is your bathroom done?
Okay, everybody. So Summer just redid her basement. So it's getting a little tour now because I've actually been super curious.
Ooh, look at the floor. Summer, but is your bathroom done?
Okay, you guys. This isn't going to work tonight. Fuck.
It's messy.
Okay.
That's so exciting.
Oh,
That's great.
Hold on. This is a joke, right? Like, it's so freaking typical because it's
So
Andy.
liked Summer?
Can I take a shower in there?
You guys, people are going to leave. Think of something else to do.
No.
Okay, bye.
Fun. Wait, does she like it? Okay. I guess we have to.
This isn't good. Oh my God, they're there. Okay, tell me what you did.
Restarted the computer after it's shut me down 3 times. I think it's because you sent to the wrong email address.
No, but then I sent it. Okay, he's blaming me.
No, it's my fault.
Oh, okay. Okay, so here we are. Oh my God. Look, see, these are the people over here, and they are very interested in what you have to say. 12 minutes in, they got sick of looking at me. All right. He blamed me at first. His name is not John Amoroso. These are Andy and Pearl Lockwood, college admissions, consultants. They are in Long Island. Say hello. Normally, Pearl is sleeping at this time, but she is here. So welcome, guys.
Thanks, Joe. Hi, everybody.
On
I'm
behalf-
Pearl.
I think you should explain who John Amoroso is.
No, okay. So Andy and I went to high school together, which is why I was able to scream and yell at him during the not being able to get him on here. And we were in a Greek history class, and the teacher, John Amoroso, was in love with Andy. And I cheated out Andy in all of the classes. So tonight, because Andy was so brilliant, he became a college counselor. I cheated off all his tests. Married Pearl. And they have so much information. I'm just going to tell you that you call yourself geniuses on your page. And they say some fun, braggy facts about Pearl. Okay, are you the chief snack officer in your business?
I sure am, for those essay boot camps we hold every summer. Of course, got the best snacks so we can study well.
Not anymore now that we're virtual.
But not anymore since we're virtual. Yes.
She's on
Okay,
leave.
so you guys are a
I did furloughed temporarily. Yes.
husband and wife team. One of you tell me exactly what you do. One of you is way more obnoxious than the other, so you decide who's going to talk. But Andy,
You can do it.
what do you do? Tell us.
Okay. Well, we at Lockwood College Planning, Lockwood
Prep.
College Prep, we do everything A to Z that has anything to do with college, starting with it, of course, the somewhat obvious, like test prep, SAT, ACT, which is my student child better suited for answering those questions. What schools are right fit for my child, big, small, if my son or child or daughter or binary or anything is pursuing sports, music, how should you leverage that when you're in the college planning process? How is your student child wired? What is the career that's out there for not the 4 years of college, but the 40 years, the rest of their life? How is their wiring going to be matched with a career that's going to be economically viable in the future that we have upon us?
Yeah,
This
so bright.
matters. It matters especially because college is one of the largest investments that a family is going to make in the course of a lifetime. And to not do your due diligence with that investment would be very short-sighted. And I don't know if people would treat any other such large investment that way. So anyway, with that.
What about financial aid?
And then, of course, we come to my corner of the world. And what I do in our firm is all of the financial aid work. So that includes need-based financial aid and non-need-based or merit-based financial aid packages, and negotiating those packages and leveraging schools' awards off of one another and appealing awards and financial aid and all the forms and everything that you can think of that has to do with college before, during, and then, of course, planning for what's really after college, like the rest of your life. We look to do that holistically and in conjunction with one another, because we believe that all of that planning should happen in conjunction with one another under one roof and together.
Okay, so that's all great, except we have one thing that's weird, that the pandemic happened. So what's happening with colleges and coronavirus? And I'm going to open my room because my internet's weird too now.
Okay. Andy?
Okay. So answer it, Andy. What are we doing with coronavirus? Everything online, earlier start dates, finishing fall semester, Thanksgiving. Can you guys give like information that you might know that we don't?
Well, it's a moving target, so some schools are doing things differently than other schools, but primarily they're bending over backwards to try to get kids back because they need the money. And they're doing everything possible to at least get them in, for the fall, and possibly eliminating October breaks, just going through Thanksgiving and then sending everyone home. I haven't heard much about what happens after that, which is the middle of cold and flu season. So I'm not really sure, if they have, plans, but a lot of them are also doing like a hybrid of online courses and in-person courses and shuffling kids, in and out, and we'll see.
I think for the most part, the trend we have seen a lot of schools continuing to make is an early mid-August start with getting rid of the fall break and going straight through until Thanksgiving, having the finals before Thanksgiving, and then the close of the first semester at the Thanksgiving break, with the thought possibly that is when the second outbreak is expected, and therefore they would also cut back on back and forth. And
thank you, Pearl Fauci.
Wait,
predicting the pandemic.
Are you guys actually in touch with the colleges? Like, you'll say, hi, I'm Andy, and to the admissions office to get information. Are you guys talking to them?
No, we have people who used to work there that work for us, but they don't really like people like us. So we try to get more money from them. We do a lot of negotiating with colleges, so they're not fond of me.
So when you say that,
I don't dislike you, but it's not in all frankness, the Rick Singer approach, if you will, is not necessarily the proper way to go about this. And we don't purport to have any relationships with specific college because we work with many different kids who want to go to many different places. And what's really important is the student and accentuating that student's pluses and making sure that that student wiring and their family's plan financially, all in is well matched with the school that they're pursuing. What? I shouldn't be up past 9 p.m.
You're going off. Stay, stay in the question.
All right.
Sound bites.
I don't know. I think it's interesting because I want to know, like, if I, and we're gonna address some of these questions on the side, but if I need help financially and a school, I want you to give me a scenario. So a school accepts me, like they all had and did, but I need more money from them. And then another school gives me more money. Can I go back to the school and say blah, 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 and try to get more money from the school I actually want?
Joanna.
Yes.
It's all here.
Good.
It's all in my book. Okay,
everybody, that's Andy's book. Show it again.
Okay.
Say what it is. It's all about negotiating financial aid. So I don't know if you guys realize this, but it is actually real. Like if you're offered a job and you need to negotiate it, it actually pertains in colleges. And I learned this with these guys. You don't have to just say, oh, this is the money that you're getting. You can actually go back to them like a negotiation. I was blown away by that because you just feel so lucky that you got into the school. You think you have no pull,
That's
right?
Exactly right.
All right, I'll give you an example, but I wrote down the link where people can get that for free instead of buying it. I would prefer they buy many copies of that for the upcoming holidays.
You write it here in the side. You can type it in.
Just post it there. Yeah, I put in that email to you before.
No, but you can type it in.
You're happy to gift it to your listeners.
Yeah. So I'll give you a scenario. So we had a kid just 2 weeks ago. This is extreme, but it's by no means unusual. So that unusual
and somewhat typical of 2020 and its oddness. Yes.
Anyhow,
wow.
Moving right on. What?
The cane.
Andy, type in this link here. Pearl, type it here.
I can't remember what I emailed you. I don't want to give the wrong link. I have to check my email.
Pearl, write in the name of the book. Right there under Heidi's question. Yeah. You see the email? Here. Do you see over here where people are typing? These guys are brilliant, but they're acting like they're not. But they really are.
We're just
over here. We're
familiar with the Get Vocal platform.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, I don't know why.
Okay, so tell the story.
So we had a kid who I coached one-on-one over the last couple of years, and she applied to a whole bunch of Ivy League schools. She didn't get into, I think she got into one, then she got waitlisted a bunch of places. Then finally, she got offers from a couple of schools, Cornell and actually Johns Hopkins, not Ivy, but might as well be. And then a couple weeks later, she got off the waitlist at Penn, and Penn offered zero. Because a lot of times when you're waitlisted, that's sort of an indication that you're not that highly desirable, and therefore they're not going to give you the best award. So we appealed it, and they came back and said, no, we're not going to give you any more money. And I said, okay, well, can we at least find out why? Like, what was your basis? Because we got these other offers, and they were like $35,000, and you're giving us zero. They came back and said, no, we're going to show you how. So that happened like 3 times. And finally, we got to speak to a manager, supposedly, someone higher up that we've been asking for the first 3 rounds. And he came back and said, well, one of the reasons is, you're self-employed and your business, showed like $2 million worth of income. And we're like, you idiots, there's $2 million worth of income, but there's like $2 million worth of expenses almost, so it's not that those aren't profits, those are income. That was the first thing. There's another argument. So finally, after the 4th try, she went from zero to like $36,000 of free grant money, and then another couple $1,000 worth of other, financial aid. So sometimes you don't get it necessarily all up front, and then you have to really fight for it.
Okay, so that's a really good story, and people, I hope you followed that because it's not a game, but it kind of is a game. And then
high-stakes game, Joanna.
Okay, Cameron is saying, does this apply also to older students? Cameron is an older student. Cameron, if you want to grab a spot and ask a question, go for it. Cameron is in college. I think he said he's 28. If you want to grab a spot, Cameron.
Cameron, you're screwed. You're too old. Sorry. No, it's got nothing to do with age. It's got everything to do with the college and your standing with that college, and if you have other offers, and There's several moving parts. Age is not one of them, though.
Okay, so what's going on with the SAT, ACT stuff? Some schools, are you guys, privy to information that we don't know, or are many schools stopping them, or what's the dealio there?
That's another thing where a lot of schools are claiming. I actually wrote an email today about it, where Harvard was the latest one to say that we're going to go test optional, which really doesn't mean that much, because if you look at any school that's gone test optional over the last few years, the kids that they admit still have super high scores, and the composition of the incoming class is still the same. And with schools like Harvard, which admits 36% of its student body who are legacies, and another 20 or 25% or 26%, depending on the year, are athletes who both tend to have lower SAT and ACT scores and lower GPA categorically, that's going to be easier for them to get in, because before they would have had to be denied. So, for the regular person who's not a legacy, who's not a recruited athlete, or not any of these special categories that receive favored treatment, it's still super hard to get in, and you still need to submit your scores.
Okay, and I know I had a conversation with you saying, people who may or may not want to retake the SAT because they hated it. You are saying, or you told me privately, that it would be a good idea to have this person probably take the test again, get a few more points, because you have a better shot of getting merit that way, correct?
This unnamed person who may or may not be related to someone that we know?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, hypothetically.
Yeah. That being said, what's the answer?
The answer is that higher scores are better, not only for getting in, but also for getting merit aid. So
yes, that's kind of important to all of you. Okay, for anyone who doesn't want to,
if you want to pay full price, if you do not otherwise qualify for need-based aid, the way you would get potentially a discount off of the cost of attendance at a particular school would be through a higher standardized test score, whether it be the ACT
GPA, yeah.
Right, all in, and assuming the school that you're speaking about is one that offers this.
There's actually more merit aid than need-based aid out there. So most of our clients don't qualify for need-based aid.
Right.
So
in Long Island.
No, all over.
All over the world, yeah. Actually, but all over the country, certainly. But you need a very, very low income to qualify for need-based.
But
aid.
In areas like Long Island and California, we have a lot of California clients. It's the same thing. They have a high salary, high income, but they don't feel wealthy because their expenses are so high.
Right.
But but the financial aid formulas are skewed against them. So merit aid is the best way to go.
Okay, so guys, there are questions here on the side. If people who are asking me questions on the side want to be on television here with us, we don't bite. Grabbing a spot will guarantee a straight-on question with Pearl and Andy. Hi, Summer.
Hi.
Summer's also from Long Island, so she's probably just trying to
That's great. I went to
pop in and say that.
In Long Island. I went to Wheatley.
Hello, Summer.
Oh.
So
very purple there.
We're very.
Now
I don't know. Sorry about that. I can't find the clicker.
Wait, do you see her?
Yeah.
Because I don't see her yet.
I see her.
She's in like a nightclub or something.
Sorry.
Okay, Summer, I don't see
I think she's at Carly's performance.
Woo! Oh, shut up. Okay, Summer, ask a question because for some reason, my internet is bonkers.
That's my fault too, Joanne. Sorry.
I went to a high school.
Can you hear her ask a question? Because I can't see her.
Yeah.
I can hear her, and I
know
her high school.
Yeah, you go do something else.
Yes, I went to Wheatley.
All right, I'm refreshing you guys because this is a disaster for me, and I'm hoping that it all works. Okay.
All right.
So I'm.
All right, I'll take over until she comes back. Don't worry. Yeah, so I went to Wheatley, and that was a very good school at the time. I graduated in like '96. Really? It was like the cover of Newsweek as the best school in the country. And I remember a lot of kids couldn't get into the college they wanted to because the quota was filled for the school, for Wheatley. Is that something that happens for real?
It's really not, so you talk to any admissions officer, and like I said, we have 5 former ones from like UChicago and really competitive schools. I'm also business partners with a guy who was on the admissions committee of Princeton for 30 years. He's more of a mentor or anything. And I've asked them this repeatedly. There aren't any quotas. You're really competing with people from all over the world, not from your own high school. You're compared against people from your high school, the strength of curriculum and things like that. But there's no quota. And what happens in every year, pretty much every high school, to some extent, they'll have a good year, quote unquote, or a bad year with certain schools. Jericho had a great year with Duke, or a terrible year with Michigan, or something like that. But it's they're only looking at a very narrow data sample, and the bigger global picture is much different. And it's never just one thing either. I mean, that gets you in.
That like 6 kids from Boulder High could all go to Duke.
Yes.
In theory, yeah.
Okay.
But they're competing with outstanding kids from all over the world that you may not know what their qualifications are like.
So do you feel like the colleges that are not trying to, like, I always assumed or imagined that they, or based on some information, that they were trying to get a good swath of the culture of kids of that age. And so I always found it strange that they would want a large segment from one spot.
You know what? It's not that they have a lot of sort of hidden agendas that we don't really think about. And one of those is, like I said before, is admitting a lot of legacies. So at least a third of Harvard admits their parents went there, or someone, or the grandparents or something. And then they've got other, people, special categories, such as recruited athletes, underrepresented minorities, international students, who are really desirable these days because they pay full price.
Right. Yeah.
So those are also probably even more important than having geographic diversity. But
is there an impact this year specifically about international students and them not being able? I'm assuming they're not going to be able to come to colleges, and does that allow for more people that wouldn't normally be avail the colleges? Yes, you're nodding.
Exactly.
Well, I want to go to Yale this year.
Well, it's mixed. I mean, there was a lot of movement off the wait list this year, most likely because of the international students. But we have a handful.
And with money.
And we have a handful of international students who, as far as I know, they're still coming. They're different countries.
Right.
Really?
The Chinese kids I don't think are coming, but we have a client in Serbia who's coming. We have a client in Chile, I think, she's coming. And then what's the one in the Baltic area? We have someone in the Baltics. I can't remember where, but I know what school she's going to. So it's mixed.
Thanks, guys. That's really interesting.
It's really interesting. All right, Maria's popping in here. Hi, Maria. Maria, ask away.
So I was my question was, if they're not requiring the SATs and the SATs and the ACTs, don't you think that they will shift how they deliver merit-based scholarships? And then somebody I asked that question in the notes or the posts, and someone said their daughter got a bunch of merit scholarships based on her grades and not her scores, which were not good. So.
Yeah, it's a school by school basis, but but it's in general, the higher the scores you have, the better chances you have. That's really what we're talking about, your odds.
Yeah.
So the problem is it's very hard for admissions officers to look at a GPA and figure out how qualified someone is, because frankly, grade inflation is rampant across the country.
Right.
So it seems on some days, like everyone I meet with has at least a 93 average, which is a problem. Like,
okay, that's not our problem.
Not a problem. Well, I think it's a big problem actually, but there are no kids with C's anymore, right?
Yeah.
So like when we were growing up, you could have a C average, but now you have like an 84 instead of a C. Right. So there needs to be some sort of way for admissions officers to figure out who actually deserves the merit. And the tests, the standardized tests are far from perfect, but they're still pretty accurate.
I just feel like that if there's a lot of opt-outs for the test, there might have to be some other thing that there might have to be some other thing that I'm just wondering, like, especially in the 2021 class, which is what we are.
I think.
And then the other question
a lot of kids are taking it though,
right.
And they're going to have more bites at the apple too.
Because of the negative implication of not turning it in when it's optional. When they've done away with them, that's one thing. If they've optional, then there's a percentage of kids who are opting not to share their scores, and then some are.
tell you
That's
also.
But what is
Yeah.
optional? Because UCs are not requiring
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Right.
Is that optional?
Yeah.
Yes.
It's optional. You can still
Which
submit.
means you can still hold yourself out and show yourself this
favorable.
way if it's favorable
Yeah.
and show your score.
But don't forget,
Same thing with the pass fails that have happened in many cases this semester
right.
because in 2020 COVID, some kids were found out who worked really hard and did very well, found out at the end that it was going to be pass fail and didn't want that and wanted the credit for the A's that they received in that class.
Yes. What do we do?
So what we recommend, if there is to the extent that you have anything official, whether it be Power School or whatever your school's online portal is, that show the actual grades that were given in the class, I would photograph it, document it, scan it, so that you can attach it as part of the application with that explanation that while the class was pass-fail, I nonetheless, the student, worked my hardest anyway and did not, it shows something about the character of that student and the choices that student made.
You can do that. You can add a whole supplement saying, I think Heidi's asking that because I bet you her child has kicked ass and is now suddenly pass-fail. So
Right.
you can, here she is, Andy.
So I know.
All right, Andy, here's my story.
All right.
I gotta go. It was really nice being on the show.
Shut up. Okay. So Maria, now we have Heidi who went to high school with us too. So Heidi, go ahead.
Closure. My son is a sophomore. Well, just finished the sophomore year at a local private school. The public schools in my area transferred to if you do 51, if you get a 51 or higher, you get a pass grade, and then you transfer the pass into an A. So in our area, in our zip code, all the kids who are applying, against will for the same spots are going to have the same A's that he had, but he kicked his ass. His school pivoted day one to online learning, and he had as rigorous of a semester as he would have if it had been in school in class. So I'm pissed because now my kids' A's don't look as good as the next door neighbor who got a 52.
Which would have been me, Heidi. So I know.
No, but you shouldn't. You actually, in all seriousness, you shouldn't worry about it because the guidance counselors are going to be writing letters. It's all going to be explained. It's going to come out in the wash with admissions officers, and they're going to know that to some extent.
That's good. That's good, Heidi. I think Will's going to be just fine. But I know all of the people who are like, the kids were doing really well, and the kids
he could care less, right? He could care
Where did I never even heard of this pass fail thing. They didn't do it at ours. I mean, I had the same thing as you. Private school, jumped right online, kept going.
She's in LA.
I'm in Maryland, and that's what the public schools in my region.
Yeah,
do.
many.
They were doing pass fail.
Yep.
Yes.
Wow.
Or some classes.
No, but the reason had a lot to do with not everyone has access to online,
internet
devices.
We have a wide variety of incomes,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of people didn't have the electronic resources to be able to do the work. Not at the school my kid goes to, but in.
Right, I hear you. Yeah.
So I'm going to address a couple things. Ellis.
Bye, Pearl.
Hi, Heidi.
So I want to address a couple things because
Is USC does USC do legacy?
They're not as big as some of the Ivy League schools, but yes.
Oh wait,
they do.
So Maria, your kid is an exceptional musician. So we're not even talking about some of that curricular stuff.
Okay.
I'm
so worried. Okay.
It's true.
Bye.
So we will talk. Ellis says, do you have recommendation tools for my son to track schools he is considering? Do you guys know about that?
To track schools?
Yeah, that's what Ellis is saying. Do you have recommendation tools for my son to track schools he's considering? I don't know if I have the answer to that, so I'm asking you. Maybe not.
In which way?
Yeah, they're not going anywhere, so you shouldn't lose them.
Ellis, he has 3 possible schools right now. That's what they're saying.
Or your virtual visits?
I guess tracking as in I'm sure. All right, I'm not so sure.
Why don't you explain it? We'll try to answer it.
Yeah.
I see there's a Kobe on there. Do you think that's my child? Kobe, if that's you, you can grab a spot if you want to. Hi, Labs. Okay, so I think we go back to Schwilker here, who was talking about what about well-rounded kids, average grades, but sports leadership stuff? How does that do as translating to getting into college? And then also she asked about how it is if your grades are okay in 10th grade, 11th grade, like when does all that matter? So let's talk about that for a minute.
So of course it all matters what types of schools you're applying to. In general, the more competitive schools defined as schools that admit 50% or less, they care about roughly a 60-40 mix. So 60% is your GPA, your rigor, how many APs or IB classes, and your test scores. Even test scores. Maybe that's some schools are diminishing that, but that's about in the aggregate about 60%. Then the other 40% has a lot to do with your leadership, your extracurriculars, your recommendations, your essays, your character, and all this other stuff. So it's important, but it's not as important at most competitive schools as a GPA. If you've shown a good trend, going from low to high, then that's part of your story, and that should be highlighted. And your guidance counselor should be highlighting that also.
Okay. So now Zori's saying Andy's talking about smart kids schools. That is not so true. And your daughter's school. Okay, her daughter goes to University of Arizona, and I think that is a perfectly good school. And they happen to have a great program called the SALT program, which deals more with executive function stuff. So do you have kids that walk in there, talk to you about needing places that might need more executive function, more hand-holding? What do you find with that?
Well, first of all, there's brilliant kids at every school and idiots at every school, even the Ivies. So there's no dumb school or smart school as far as we're concerned. Second of all, I am not particularly a specialist in kids who have learning challenges, but we have someone on staff who is, and she ran the resource room at her local high school here, Syosset, for 33 years. She knows all the ins and outs of that stuff. So frequently they need programs that support their learning disabilities or learning challenges. And there's, broadly speaking, there's 3 different types of programs, and it really ranges with, how much support and hands-on stuff you get. But each of the programs, the goal is really to get the kids to learn how to self-advocate, so they don't need the services. But some kids need more in the beginning than others, and that's a school-by-school thing.
But how do you know, like schools who are selling you are going to sell you on the fact that they may be more supportive both with executive function, mental health, other things? And then how do you know if that's really the case? Is it researching with a college consultant like you with information, or calling the school where they may just bullshit you?
Yeah. I mean, a lot of it is your gut, but in our case, obviously what we do professionally is we have that information because, that's what we do all day. But if I didn't work with a college consultant, there's books. There's, I think Princeton Review has a book on, schools for kids with learning challenges. But you have to also pay attention to what they say and whether it makes sense. I'm a little nervous that some of these programs are going to be cut, because of the budget problems that schools are having. So that's something else that what might have been true last year may not be true again on a going forward basis.
And will they admit that if you call the school and you're interested in the school? Will they be honest with you about that kind of stuff?
Sometimes.
Okay, so that's a little bit scary too. And what's your opinion? What type of kid do you think would do better in a small school versus a big school when you're learning about the kid? Not necessarily what they are saying, because they may be wanting a rah-rah school, but then you're watching what they've done in school, and do you advise them big, small, or do you take what they say?
I like small kids. I don't really like big fat kids so much.
Oh, shut up!
It kind of gross me out.
That was the obnoxious Andy. If any high school friends would like to pop on to reprimand Andy.
I don't condone it. This is not
Don't let the heart hurt. Yeah, not the
Oh
time.
my God, it's my kid. Okay, Kobe, say hi to Andy and Pearl because you already know them.
Is that a mask or a
Hi,
cravat?
Kobe.
Or a cravat?
Oh, he went. He disappeared. He lost. Did you guys? He's frozen. That's a great picture of him.
It looks like Donald Gooden.
Oh shit. Oh, Kobe, you were frozen for a minute. Okay, so while he's frozen and trying to drive, do you think the colleges are going to have the same tuitions because of the online versus, there may be some hybrid, there may be some online, there may be smaller lectures. What's your feeling on all that? As my son is in the corner of our screen, frozen.
The short answer is they're doing everything they can to get kids on campus to justify the high tuition.
Okay.
That's the game plan, I think, across the board.
They are looking last to give it back.
Okay, but do you think they'll get them in there? You've paid the tuition, then they'll go hybrid. They'll say,
It could end up looking a lot like this past semester panned out.
Yeah, they're going to try really hard to do that. That's going to be the default.
Okay, so that would be a real dick move. I think of the schools.
Well, you know what a lot of these schools have is it's very expensive for them to get online too. They can't just like flip a switch and go online. So in their defense, they do have budget problems.
Okay, and some of the schools might disappear. Hello, Bruce and Vicky.
Hi, I got a perspective.
Hi there.
Hi, do you have questions for my friend?
I've been lurking, but I'm a professor at CU, so I've been in on all these conversations, and it's just what you said, John. It's like they know that
His name is Andy.
everyone knows it's not going to happen. It's going to be online, and it's just they're just holding out to get students to come to get the tuition checks cashed, and then the likelihood is that it's going to be mostly, if not all, online.
That's really unfortunate.
Yeah.
How do you feel about that as a professor?
I'm really happy not to have to be in a classroom with a bunch of kids from all over the country who don't really suffer symptoms from COVID.
But also that.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
That's driving a lot of this is that you have older faculty who are like, fuck it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we also have a freshman that's going to be heading to Tulane. So, it's also the other side, like the money, like, holy shit.
Yeah, we got to pay full tuition for like online classes at Tulane.
Yeah, so we're getting those seats of like, wow.
Yeah.
That is that information from Bruce right there, just for anyone who's listening. That's coming from a professor at CU, and he is privy to information. So what would all of you honestly advise? So Vicky and Bruce, your daughter is headed to Tulane regardless.
Tulane is going on that schedule that I just talked about, the mid to August straight through to Thanksgiving, right?
Yeah. Right. That's the plan. But the expectation is 2 weeks in, there's going to be this outbreak of infection. Then they'll send everyone home.
Oh, shit.
Just past the no refunds date. Right?
Oh, no, it's all, we're back to the same scenario we were last semester.
I know we grappled with it. Like, do we not send her off to the college of her dream? Or do we send her and just suck it up? I don't know. I do it. We're already sending. She's going.
That is the question.
Okay, so we're going to ask the professionals, and they have about 25 kids of their own. So we'll have two, I don't even know if is your oldest still in college? Yeah. So they have two in college, Pearl and Andy. I know his name says John Amoroso. Bruce, that's not his name. He's trying to be funny because we went to school, and that was our high school teacher.
Oh.
But his name is Andy. But what would you, as a friend, would you tell us to send our kids to college or take a year, or what would you do?
Well, the big problem is what do you do if you take the year off? So I was just looking at a study that Inside Higher Ed published that talked about kids' plans, 2020 grads' plans compared to 2019 kids' plans. And it was about 2% plan to take a gap year in both situations. So most kids are not planning to do that. Mainly because they probably don't know what the hell they would do.
What would you do? What would you do? You would work. A regular job at home.
Or what you would ordinarily do to plus your gap situation is maybe not available in this particular year.
I would try to get my kid to school. I would get there, see what happens. If it goes online, you do that, and then you could get a job also. But I would try to get them in school, not to lose the momentum.
I think prior to this, there was all this gap year stuff that seemed awesome when there were tons of things to do. That was like there were books on that. And now I think, I mean, personally, it seems like it would be okay. It is scary. And I think I would say to wing it. What is no travel to cool places? So you might as well send them to school. Okay, that's true too.
We're all working really hard to get the online up to a higher quality level.
Right.
So it's not going to be ad hoc like it was last term.
Oh, see, that's good.
It could be improved.
I'm a professor too. Oh my God, stop it. Sorry, Carly and David
I
are
got
like,
to cook dinner, so I'm going to drop out, but I'm going to keep listening.
thank you, Bruce.
All right, that's good.
So guys, that was good information from a professor and from these guys. And I think they have written what their book is here. And I think that you guys want to probably buy it. Does anyone have any more questions or people who want to pop in? Labes is saying, if I had a freshman, I would have them defer. I don't agree, Labes.
Well, it depends. And do what?
Yeah, and do what?
Well, by the way, most colleges are not permitting that. Also, they're not. They want the money. You know, so they're coming up with. It's actually kind of creative what I'm seeing. So some schools have come up with the pandemic rebate, which is we will give you a semester for free, but that's your 8th one. So it's we need
Your
to get you there
last one.
now.
Right.
Yeah. So there's a lot of financing type stuff happening, but they're not so eager to defer.
Okay, so guys, I think just send the kids to school. What do you guys think counts? I know we sort of mentioned this, but when you're in high school, do they look at 9th grade? Do they look at 10th grade? Or do they only look 11, 12? How does that all work when you're putting everything together? What do you think?
So the entire body of work that gets judged when you fill out applications in the summer, ideally the summer before 12th grade, starts as early as 9th grade. And if you've taken advanced classes in middle school or junior high, then those are on the record also. So it's really everything. It's every class, every club, every out of school activity, every summer activity. All these things are part of what goes on the record.
Yep. Further, we've seen every fall semester of senior year really end up mattering a lot more than one would think, especially if somebody's applying early decision someplace. We've
Especially
seen
it'll happen this year.
It definitely
way more
happened
this year. Yeah.
We've seen guidance counselors being called mid-semester grades. And shortly thereafter, in the senior year, the fall of the senior year, and then shortly thereafter, one way or the other, if the grades are great, there may be an acceptance right thereafter, or we've unfortunately seen it in the negative as well. If, let's just say, a student is misinformed and takes way too many classes that are, of high rigor and is doing a play and 10 other things and cannot necessarily keep the grades at the level at the academic place they're trying to apply to, and that slips and those grades are revealed mid-semester, that's unfortunately where the admissions decision can turn. So it can end up being, in many respects, one of the most important semesters. So you can't put your foot off the gas just yet in your fall semester of your senior year.
Especially this year when there's a lot of pass-fail for 4th quarter of 11th grade.
I think that the boy who appeared on there, my son, I think that he might have flunked gym, and then they double-checked that at his school, and that was also a little bit of a problem. So you got to stay on top of your game. Wait, I have social media questions. So do you advise some of your clients to stay off social media once they're accepted, before they're accepted? Do you go down that path at all so that do admissions look at that shit?
So on one hand, it'd be kind of odd to not have any social media presence, but
Right.
But on the other hand, each year more and more admissions officers admit that they look for kids' social media profiles.
Mm-hmm.
So frequently, I mean, I remember once a girl a couple of years ago asked me to go through her social media stuff to see if there's anything on there that was going to be damaging. So I said, okay, sure. So I was sitting there clicking, and there's like, this is our basement here. So I'm clicking, and I'm like, okay, and there's all these photos of her and her friends, and I'm like, wow, this is getting kind of creepy. I'm just not finding anything. Like 10 minutes go by, whatever. Then finally, I found a picture of her with her friends with it's some Sweet 16 with alcohol, and I'm like, okay, that's the one. You got to take that off. I'll tell you something more serious. I have a client this year, very, very unfortunate, but I think it's going to be okay. She's in 10th grade, and she comes from a law enforcement background, like a very, very high level family in a different state. And after all of the the Michael Floyd stuff and the Black Lives Matter, both the Floyds and the Black Lives Matters type protests started happening, someone found an innocuous post that she had made like 6 months before, I think actually with an African-American friend, where she used the N-word and then, but not in terms of anything like, I want to, kill them or harm them. It was more like, I'm one of them. It was like just like a kid being dumb type of thing. And that turned out to be republicized, and she started getting bullied at school because people were passing around, and it got to be like an awful thing just from a harmless mistake that she made. So now, because her dad's very high up, he like called someone at Twitter who said, sorry, we can't take it down. Like he knows people there.
Oh no.
And so now what they're in the process of doing is trying to push all that stuff down by creating new content. It's like being in business, and it's really unfortunate. And she's not racist at all. She was just a kid, being goofy.
Right. And a kid, and that's what a lot of them do,
Yeah.
So I feel like, I've heard things about that with jobs too, that they have to be careful, and they're not going to necessarily listen to us. And what about
what? Thank God we didn't have that when we were growing up, right? Because who knows?
That would have been the worst for me of all of our friends.
No, really? How about Morgie?
Oh yeah, is he watching? Morgie, are you watching?
Yeah.
So how far back on social media do they look? Schwelker's asking.
Yeah, I don't think there's an easy
tax
answer.
return 7 years.
I don't think there's I don't think, first of all, they don't have time to do this just per se, because the average time spent on a file, which includes all the essays, the transcripts, the recommendations, and a bunch of other stuff, is about 6 minutes. Right. So to then say, okay, now I'm going to go online and start messing around for another 12 minutes. I don't think it's anything significant, but I'm superstitious enough to want to have everything purged. That's odd. Sometimes you can do it, in a way that's advantageous. So I had a client a couple of years ago who ended up getting into Northeastern. This is Alexa Miz, who went to Wheatley.
Right.
That's why I reminded of her, and she had lower grades and scores than the other kids who got denied from her high school, but she was going in as a business major. And I said, you know what, you have a bunch of jobs and internships. Do you have a LinkedIn profile? She said no. So 6 months before she ended up applying, she really blew out her LinkedIn profile, and it's never one thing that gets a kid in, but I think that had a lot to do with it.
Wow. And then if one school is more prestigious than another, a high school, and admissions is looking at these two high schools, do they often look more toward the prestigious high school, or do they like to mix it up a little bit?
Well, prestige is not really probably the precise word. It's really more about, the schools. Yeah, the school's courses and the rigor and, that type of thing, which would add to the prestige. So, some schools are feeder, schools for like Andover and Exeter, are feeder schools for Harvard and Yale and Harvard Westlake and LA and whatever. But that doesn't mean that each kid is from one school is preferable to a kid from another school. It's just that they know that if someone has an A- at the super hard school and the other kid has an A at the easier school, that'll be factored in.
Right. And schools themselves, just to get to what I think you were saying, do have a grade of their own, a profile that is known to the colleges and to the admissions committee just about the level of rigor that is offered at that particular high school, or how hard one high school is as compared to another.
Right. The regional reps from each college, their job is to get to know the profiles of each school in their region.
So I noticed during some of the process that I have gone through with a kid that the admissions people look like they're just out of college. Is that a trend? I mean, they literally seem very, very young. Am I correct? I don't know why that matters, but I've noticed it.
Yeah, well, it's not a trend. I mean, that's really been the case since we were in college, and
We're just getting old.
probably before. But there's two types of admissions officers, broadly speaking. One is and those are the guys that we employ. The kids who are just out of school, who went to that particular college and worked in admissions when they were in school, and then maybe after, and then they're on their way to law school or something like that. Then there are the sort of the career, admissions people who may not have necessarily gone to that particular college, but they've been in admissions for decades, and they're just professionals.
Okay, that's good information. So does anyone have any questions that you want to pop on? We're going to go a few minutes longer because my friends here couldn't get online, Andy and Pearl. So we're going to go a little longer. So if you have any questions you want to pop in here, I don't know if I've missed some of them and you feel the need to show your face. We also have some friends here who are watching Andy and Pearl just do their thing, like Charlie. Hi, Charlie. Hi, Ann. Do you guys have?
Are you actually? Is Ann using her real name?
I don't know. I see a little head here on the side that's like not her picture. So she would never grab a spot. My brother's even there, my twin, but he's never going to grab a spot. But I see them on the side.
Jimmy had he told me privately, a very good experience with in terms of negotiating. So. On behalf of Jimmy.
Oh, yeah. Jimmy, you should come on and tell a story. If anyone is a client of Andy and Pearl and would like to tell a story about how they have helped negotiate, I would love to have you pop in here, and I think our audience would like it. Also, guys, so a lot of our audience is from Boulder, too. I feel like we have less craziness when it comes to, I don't know, certain moms, college, ideas around it. It's definitely not as stressful. What do you guys have some schools on the top of your head? Kind of weird question, because we've been talking about kind of elite schools. Do you have any mid-level schools for people like me or us or some of us that you guys think are great schools that you talk to your people about?
So first of all, there is a lot of stress in your town. I can tell you that firsthand.
Really?
People acting like they're not, but inwardly and privately, there's a lot of competition in any upper, middle class, affluent area. Absolutely.
Okay. It just seems a little less than where I grew up. Maybe.
Well, I don't know if we're stressed out about college. I mean, now it's crazy in Newton, Massachusetts.
Well, you were one of the smart ones.
I didn't care. I applied to one school, but so it really depends on what the profile of a kid and what they're looking for. But most schools, there's 4,000 colleges in the country, and about 90 admit 50% or less. So that means the vast majority of schools are pretty easy to get into. So if you're just if you're looking for a normal school where it's not necessarily cutthroaty and all that, it's much easier to find those than it is the rear window sticker colleges that everyone drives around with their cars.
Yes, if you want to go about this process thoughtfully and not just be a consumer of what schools have marketed well to you, right, and through its students and its stickers. There is a great book that you often recommend for looking for as you said, there are 4,000 schools out there, and there are some that are excellent that some of you may have never heard of that are equally as terrific as some of the very competitive schools, but you may have to dig a little deeper to find them. There's a book by Poe called
Pope.
Colleges that Change Lives.
Yeah, he's dead.
Oh yeah, I'm writing it right here. That changed lives. Okay, that's helpful.
You know what? Can I just say one thing? Because all these are like normal questions that we get a lot, but the bigger picture is really much more important. So one of the things that is different, I would say, about us, meaning that we're not right for everyone at all, is that there's like all these questions about like, should I take the test or what's happening with this, with that? Those are all sort of like tactical type things. But the bigger picture, the strategic stuff is way more important. Like what the hell are you going to get out of college, right? That's what we care about the most. It's about launching kids for success after college, not so much this 4 years of school, because focusing on only the 4 years of college is about as stupid as rushing to the airport, but you have no idea where the flight's going.
Right.
So the way we do this is backwards, and all these questions about where should I go and this, what should I do, this and that. The first thing we do is we sit our kids down with a career counselor, and she gives them an assessment, and then she goes through it with them and usually picks out 6 or 8 or 10 or 12 different careers where that match the kids' wiring, where they can actually love what they do for work. So work feels like play, and they can make a living and get off mommy and daddy's full ride scholarship, as we call it. That's the first thing. And that's usually 6 or 8 or 10 things. It's okay to change majors. 80% of kids change majors. But the thing is that if you do that twice or 3 times, you're on the 6th year plan at $50,000 to $70,000 a year, which is pretty painful no matter how much money you have. So that's we call it plan, path, position, produce. The 4 P's, Joanna. The 4 P's.
4 P's. Okay.
So plan means backward plan. Path means now let's take that information back into a set of colleges that is reputable across a cluster of maybe 3 or 4 majors, because again, 80% switch. And then the next step is position, is really an advertising term. I always think of, Avis, we're number 2. We try harder because they knew they couldn't beat Hertz. So they position themselves to their strengths. So when kids apply to college, the real question is, okay, there's 25,000, 80,000, 90,000 other kids who look the same as you on paper. Why should we take you compared to all these other kids? So that's the essays, the applications, the extracurriculars, it's all that body of work stuff that starts in 9th grade or maybe even earlier. And then the final part, produce, is what Pearl does, which is finding the money. So it's either merit aid or need-based aid. It's negotiating with colleges. That's what I do. So it's like all this stuff together. It's not just SATs or that type of thing.
Right. So for the essay, what do you think? And I'm sure people ask you this, and you have a person who helps. What makes them stand out in an essay, or what shouldn't you do in an essay?
Yeah. We have 5 former admissions officers who reviewed 1,000 applications a year, anywhere from 3 to 5 years, and each application had 4 to 6 essays. So the bottom line is that essays need to be interesting. They need to have a fresh perspective. They don't have to be about some huge thing. They can be about something. You can go small on essays, but it's got to be something that's either amplifying or something in addition to what's on the application. It's not a regurgitation of other stuff that's listed on the application. There's very few bad topics per se. You don't necessarily want to write about a dead grandfather or something. The other thing about the essays, they're not really as important as people think, or at least it's out of whack compared to how much time and effort kids put into it, and moms do screaming at their kids. Although this year, if a lot of schools are test optional, maybe they'll be a little bit more important, but they might be like 10 to 15% of the application. Nowhere near as important as grades and scores and rigor.
That is so, that's such a big statement, guys, that essay. And it also is a lot less words than you even imagine. You should take a look at what the colleges say, because you imagine like a 15-page essay, and it's a small essay, right?
Yeah.
It's like 600.
650 words. The problem is that a lot of schools have supplemental essays. So when we have kids who are applying to all these, prestigious, Harvard, Yale, Stanford, MIT, Duke, whatever, they might have like 40 essays to write. So part of what we're helping them with is really time management. It's not just essay writing. And sometimes the essays overlap, so you can repurpose one, for other schools, but it can be a lot. I mean, most kids don't have that many unless they're gunning for those, super high aspirational schools.
How many pandemic essays do you think just about surviving the pandemic will happen?
Well, something interesting. So I did an interview for our clients where I talked to one of the guys who works for us, Chris, who was a U Chicago admissions officer for, I think, 3 years. And that was one of the first questions I asked him. I was like, so tell me, should every essay be about coronavirus? So we talked about it, and the answer was no. And then about a week later, the Common Application came out and said, here's an optional 250-word short essay if you've been affected by coronavirus.
Oh,
And what was interesting to me about that was I think the real reason they were doing that was to indicate that you didn't have to write about it for the main essay.
Right.
Here's your chance to do it
And
and keep it small. Yeah.
Right.
So I think that was smart of them.
Well, I think it is Pearl's bedtime. So there's a couple last minute things.
It's past you. Yeah.
It is past her bedtime. Andy, are you sad that you and I broke up in 8th grade so that you could end up with Pearl?
It was a dark period. I had to lean on John Amoroso in ways I don't really want to describe publicly, and Pearl is perfect.
Oh my God, I know. I think you guys are a better match than we would have been. I just want to know, and maybe our high school friends could tell us if that's the case. But none of them had the balls to come on. Okay, so guys, we're gonna end the show in a second. So if you have any other dying questions here that you would like to ask, I also want you guys to say how they can reach you.
Yeah. Go to our site, lockwoodcollegeprep.com. I don't know if you can type it in.
I'm going to type it in. Lockwood College. And you can just go to you guys anywhere, anyhow, anywhere in the world. Oh, you did it faster, so I don't need to do it. Okay, John. People do this all virtually. Do you also have people that are in your face?
I mean, this year the kids in our hometown we're not meeting with them face to face, but but we have. It's really about just our own little area. Probably 25% are from either out of the state or out of the country at this point.
So, when do you think kids who are going into senior year? Do you think now is the time to be searching the college, researching all of it? We can't really go anywhere and look at schools right now. So what do you advise on that before we get out of here?
I mean, a lot of the kids that we've been working with have been doing that for a while. So now's a great time to do it if you haven't already. There's a lot of virtual tours and info sessions that you can go to. It's a lot to do in a relatively short period of time. I really recommend getting all the essays and all that stuff done over the summer before school starts up again in the fall, somehow, whatever that looks like.
Right.
So that's really the best thing I can recommend is like get all that stuff done. A little bit of short-term discomfort over the summer will preclude a lot of near-term excruciating pain and agony if you wait till the school year starts.
Yes.
Okay, guys. Well, if no one else has any other questions, I think we've covered a lot of territory. Is there anything I missed that you want to add, guys? Charlie wants to know if you've advertised in New York City. I don't know. And
I don't have kids. He's so nosy.
Heidi says check out their Facebook page. Yes, you guys do a lot of stuff. And if you do like their page, they do a lot of interviews. Sometimes they even dress up. They are very much worth paying attention to, both with knowledge and humor. And you can catch them live weekly on Facebook. Is it Tuesdays? You guys do a weekly chat?
College, coffee, and COVID talk, 10 Eastern on Facebook. I want to thank you for our first and last Get Vocal experience.
You will not say that. You may. Oh, wait.
First of many.
How many schools to apply to? Just give us that. What's a good number?
I think 8 to 12, 10 to 12 maybe is like a normal number. But, some kids go nuts and they apply to like 20, 25, mostly out of fear.
And because it's a common application, each one costs money, correct? I mean, you have to spend on an application.
You know what? It's a drop in the bucket compared to what tuition is. But yeah, I mean, it costs, $75 as opposed to $75,000. But yeah, I mean, a lot of kids do it out of fear when they're like, they haven't heard back and they're just waiting, twiddling their thumbs after they've been working so hard in their applications. They're like, all right, I'm just going to apply to some more. But that's another reason why college has gotten so hard to get into is the Common App and the ease of being able to, hit one button and send it out to 25 schools.
Oh, and one last thing. Don't you think hiring people like you makes it so that your family doesn't explode in stress?
That's the idea. I mean, so we're not just going back to what I was saying before. We're not right for everyone. So a lot of the the stress comes from the parents down, flows downhill. And I don't know how to say this in a polite way. I'm really not good with helicopter parents, because they want to do everything for their kids, which I understand the impulse to do that, but it's really retarding their growth, and it's annoying to me, and it's not good for the kids. And again, we're really more about helping them be successful, to launch for success in that 40 to 50 years after college. So everything I do is not just focus on college stuff. It's really
how do you just give a couple pieces of advice on how not to be a helicopter parent when dealing with you, though?
Shut the hell up. It's really that simple. I mean, if you're going to hire anyone for their advice, take their advice.
Okay.
Don't butt in. I mean, this is about your son or your daughter putting on the big boy pants and transitioning into an adult, and you got to stop the breastfeeding and whatever other behavior you're doing. And that's why we turn a lot of people off. We're definitely not right.
Because we're obnoxious, but you're also amazing. So that's
honest. And this is a time where, this is not the time to blow smoke up anyone's, again, just for you got to be very painfully honest during this process, because it's a huge investment, and it can't just be because you want a certain sweatshirt, a name on your sweatshirt. You got to go a little deeper than that. And it's, maybe maybe the first time that you say no sometimes.
Yeah, we're doing this to help kids. I mean, we pays our bills, but we're doing this really because it's a way to actually do work that is meaningful to us, at least. And, occasionally we'll fire clients. I fired one about 3-4 weeks ago who was, just not a good fit after promising that they would be, so.
Well, yeah. I do appreciate you guys being here so much. I do, love you personally, professionally. I know you've helped me and a lot of our friends, and my twin brother, who is too scared to come on here because one of us is outgoing and one of us doesn't want to appear. So, he's always
been a little bit of a puss.
Yeah. So guys, thank you for watching Clam Chatter tonight. I hope that this was helpful. I know it was for me, and I actually do know it was for all of you. So thanks for joining. Sorry about the technical difficulties, but I think we made up for it with their information and beauty. And I'll see John Amoroso and Pearl soon. Oh, wait, Jimmy, wait.
RHA, Joanna, RHA.
Oh, Jimmy G. Is he really?
No, I got to go. Yeah, I don't have time for Jimmy.
Jimmy! Everybody, my twin!
Oh, come on. Seriously?
Jimmy, you appeared!
I'm so sick of you.
I thought this was about sex or something. I didn't want to hear about Andy and Pearl.
No, Jimmy.
Did you?
Jimmy, tell everybody this is Clam Chatter Twin.
That's how he wants to be known, I'm sure.
Tell them how Andy and Pearl helped you.
In what way? What are we talking about?
I don't know.
No, Andy and Pearl were extremely helpful. I don't know if you've been talking about finances or not today, tonight, or whatever. Have you been talking about finances?
Yeah, we did it early on.
All right. So is my story already taken?
We're talking about recipes for like cake and stuff.
Did you already talk about my type of story?
No, I love it.
Okay. Tell the damn story.
So the story was that we have two kids, one in college who's a freshman, and then a second one who was applying to school. And the freshman got no money last year, and then she, from a certain school, I don't know if you mentioned schools in these programs or not, but then she got into a second school and they offered her a bunch of money. So I called up the Lockwood Consulting Group, and that's not their real name. And I said, what should we do? And they helped, and they said, well, pit one school against the other. And that's exactly what we did. And it happened to be at a time when COVID was hitting hard, and the timing was right, as I was unemployed temporarily as well as a lot of people. And it all aligned well. And both of my kids ended up getting into school A, and they gave each of my kids $30,000, which was out of from zero. So it was a huge, a huge win, especially for the Lockwood Consulting Group, because I went online and said that.
That is amazing, James.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's Lockwood. I appreciate the story, but it's Lockwood College Prep.
Oh yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
All right. Well, whatever it is, you
You
did
still
it.
have that sign, Andy, that says Lockwood from the street sign?
No, the one
No,
was
all
still,
right.
my cousin has that.
All right.
All right, guys. Well, that was a big plug for the people, the guests, and congratulations, Jimmy. And I also heard
Thank
that
you.
your daughter's going to a different school now. So congratulations.
That's not necessarily true, but I did get financial advice as well on the next move concerning the next school as from Lockwood Consulting Group.
Wrong. Okay. All right, guys. Well, Jimmy, I'm glad you came on here. So next,
I had mixed feelings.
I'm glad everyone was wearing clothing. I didn't know what this show was.
next week, when we do our sexual dysfunction show, I will have you on as well.
Great,
okay?
great.
All right. And
This is definitely my last Get Vocal show ever.
shut up.
Andy, I'm surprised you're wearing a shirt.
All right. Love you all.
Bye.
Bye, Spaz.
Thank you.
Guys, I was
Yeah.
Bye. Bye, James.
Goodbye.
I think it's because I called him a puss.
Really?
Yeah.
Hey, let's go out someplace.
Lying down.